started. So you want to become a trade plate driver. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Jen and I am a trade plate driver in Manchester in the UK, and I operate all over the country. I have so far done 2 videos of a day in the life of a female trade plate driver, and the videos did a little bit better than I thought they would. I wanted to practice editing vlogs. I'd never edited in that style before, so it was just kind of a bit of an experiment for me, and they ended up doing quite well. That led us on to this video right now. So I've received quite a few questions about the process of becoming a trade plate driver, what it involves, and I'm going to answer that for you today, so be sure to stick around. Now, one thing I do want to say before we really get into the video is that I'm speaking on my personal experience with the company that I'm with. This does not in any way reflect trade plating as an overall industry and is very specific to my experience, so please bear that in mind when I'm saying what I'm saying in this video. But first, if you haven't already liked this video, drop a comment below if you've got any more questions, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification icon to receive updates for whenever I post a new video. All right, let's get into it, guys. Okay, so the first question, what is trade plate driving? So I have covered this briefly in my very first video, so go check that out if you haven't seen it already. But in a nutshell, trade plate driving is collecting and delivering vehicles. So rather than putting a car on a transporter, some people would rather have their vehicles collected and delivered by a person. Choosing the transporter option is great because it doesn't add any mileage to your car's odometer. You're not picking up any additional mileage. Having your vehicle delivered with a trade plate driver means that somebody physically collects and drives your vehicle to you. It's your responsibility as a trade plate driver to make sure the car is delivered on time and in a safe, clean manner. You want to treat it as if you are having your car delivered yourself. So you're not going to want someone eating McDonald's on the front seat and getting crumbs everywhere, smearing fingerprints all over the navigation screen, getting stains all over the seat because they've spilled a Starbucks or something. You have to be respectful of these people's vehicles. So how do we go about collecting or delivering these vehicles? Traditionally with trade plate driving, it was all paper based and you'd fill out a physical form to do the appraisal, but nowadays it all tends to be done digitally within an app. So the app that my company used is called Model. Model is great. You can do the collection form and the delivery form all in one place, as well as the expenses for the job. We'll get to that later. So when you arrive to collect a vehicle, you will confirm the registration, you'll go into the collection on the app, and you will start taking pictures. You will have to note things like damage, mileage, fuel, what the car comes with, does it have charging cables if it's electric, does it have a parcel shelf? All of these things need noting down. When it comes to photographs, which are arguably the most important part, you want to be as specific as possible. You want to completely cover your bases. So you want to take as many pictures as you can. So typically a good example of this would be taking pictures starting from the driver's side. You start from the front quarter where the wheel arch is and the front of the bumper, and you take a picture there. Then you move to the driver's side door, take a picture of that panel. You would then move over to the rear door, take a picture there. Then you would move to the rear quarter, take a picture there. Then I would move around the car taking a picture of the rear. You also want to make sure you're lifting up the boot as well and taking internal pictures. Then you would head round to the other side of the vehicle and you would take again the same 4 pictures of the 4 panels. Then when you get to the front, you want to be taking clear pictures of the front of the car, the windscreen, and if you can, the roof. But being a 5'3" trade plate driver, I often found this difficult. I then personally took pictures of all 4 wheels because you want to identify clearly any scuffs or markings to the rims and the actual damage to the tyres themselves. Be as thorough as you can. Then we move inside the car. So you want to take pictures of the front seats, the rear interior, the boot as I mentioned before, however many keys it comes with, and also the dashboard with the engine running. You want to make sure you're capturing stuff like the odometer, the fuel level, and also things like if there's any warning lights on. That's really important to capture. So cover yourself, take as many pictures as you possibly can. A lot of drivers will just try and rush through this and they'll take pictures of the entire car, you know, from one side, the other side, the front and the back, which is great, but then you're not really covering yourself too thoroughly. There was one instance I had personally where I delivered a brand new car to a dealership, and they tried claiming £250 from me because I had neglected to notice a tiny little scratch on one of the doors and they tried to blame me for it. Had I have noted this down in the collection appraisal, that never would have been an issue, but it was so small of a scratch, I didn't notice it. So it's really important that you cover your own back. So please make sure that you're being really thorough with that. So once you've completed the appraisal, what happens next? The same exact process is then repeated upon the delivery of the vehicle. So when it gets to its delivery destination, you're taking those pictures again around the entirety of the car and you're making notes of the updated mileage, the fuel level upon delivery, among other things, and then that's when the customer will sign and receive the collection. At that point, the car is no longer in your responsibility, but from the minute you collect it to the minute that you deliver it, it is your responsibility. So what happens once you've delivered the vehicle? The short answer is you hop on a bus. No, seriously though, you have to make your way on public transport to your next collection. So the people that organise your collections and deliveries will do their best to try and make sure that the place you deliver to isn't too far from the next place you're collecting from. Obviously, sometimes this doesn't always go to plan and you can be travelling a further distance, but that is the nature of trade plate driving. Usually the travel time will take anything up to about 2 hours, could be more, could be less. My experience trade plate driving has meant that I have not paid for expenses. We used to, and then obviously the company listened to driver feedback that we were spending more money than we were earning initially before we then got our expenses paid a few weeks later. So they issued what's called a Soldo card, which is a prepaid card that we can use specifically for public transport purposes. The only form of public transport you cannot get with a Soldo card are taxis. It is very tempting to want to jump in a taxi everywhere, especially when you're working really long hours and you've had a long day and you just want to get home. However, in order to get a taxi, you do have to get permission. So in my experience, we would call our planner, we would explain, hey, I've just delivered the car to this dealership, there's no train station or public transport hub within a walkable distance and there's no means of me being able to get there. Can I get a taxi? And usually they would calculate the expenses and issue you a taxi code. So when you save these expenses in the Model app, you would then attach the receipt for the taxi along with the code. The cost is initially covered by you as the driver, but it does get paid back to you. You want to try and keep your public transport expenses as low as possible because it's ultimately in your best interest as you get paid more for that job. What are the hours like? This is a very interesting question. So the short answer is there are no set hours. You have to be flexible if you want to be a trade plate driver. It's typically a Monday to Friday job and you could be working anything from very early hours in the morning to very late at night. There are some days that you'll only work 4 hours and come home. It is completely subjective, but you do have to be willing to be flexible. So yeah, every single day is completely different and there's no set answer to that, but you have to be willing to get up early and sometimes come home late at night. Now for the big question. What's the pay like? Great question. So again, just to preface this, it's different from driver to driver, company to company. So as a trade plate driver, in my experience, you get paid for the miles you drive, not by the hour. So the further distance you drive, the more you get paid. It is important to note though, you are typically not paid for the time that you're on public transport. So you are paid from the minute you pick up the car to the minute you deliver it. And I always used to get sent to Scotland, which was great because it was like usually one long drive from Manchester to Scotland. I'd deliver the car, collect another one and drive all the way back. And that for me was the ideal situation. Because the jobs are paid by mileage, this does mean that your pay can differ week to week. You're not always going to get a set income, so it can be sometimes tricky to plan financially. But in terms of how much you're paid, it differs from company to company, so I can't really comment on that. Sometimes the pay isn't great, and that's me being totally transparent with you guys. I wouldn't necessarily recommend trade plate driving if you are the breadwinner and you have to bring in a steady, consistent income. Because like I say, it can vary week to week and it does depend on the jobs available to you, so do bear that in mind. A lot of people will do trade plate driving in their retirement years because it's a nice way to earn a bit of money and fill your time without the pressure of having to earn a set income. Would I recommend being a trade plate driver. So personally for me, I love trade plate driving. I think it's a fun job. You get to explore the whole country. You get to drive amazing cars. I could be driving anything from an Iveco tipper truck to a Porsche. I've driven it all. It's really great if you're somebody that loves cars. You get to be outside. You get to kind of run your own schedule, so long as you sort of stick into the approximate time frame. You're not being micromanaged by anybody. You work alone. You can just get on with your day, and you're making people happy by delivering their cars. So yes, I would recommend trade plate driving, but again, it is worth mentioning. I do just want to reiterate, if you are somebody who has to be relied upon for an income, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for somebody in that situation. But if you're not cut out to work in an office like me, trade plating could be perfect. The two main downsides, I'd say, are the long hours and sometimes the unpredictable pay. You get to drive nice vehicles, you get to be outside in the fresh air. Oh, side note, you are also outside in all different types of weather, so pack a rain jacket. But overall, it's a really fun job. It's not for everybody, and I totally appreciate that. But if you're in a position where you've got some free time on your hands and you want a bit of income, then trade plating is a really great career to get into. Maybe you're looking to retire and do something on the side. Again, would highly recommend it if that's your situation. And yeah, I hope that answers most of your questions. I've probably forgotten to mention a ton of stuff, so if there's anything in particular that you guys would like to know that I haven't covered, drop a comment down below. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and there's a lot more content coming your way. I've had a lot of life changes recently, so things are going to get interesting. Be sure to stay subscribed and stick around for the next video. And just thank you to everybody so far that's supported this channel. So I'm at the very beginning of my YouTube journey, and I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone who showed their support so far. This was a really unexpected adventure for me, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. So please stick around. There's a lot more content to come, and things are going to get pretty crazy. So that concludes my video on trade plate driving. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.